Hey, how are you? I'm J. Mary Louise. Welcome. This is the last in my three-part series on singing and worship. While each part can stand on its own, together they give a complete view of this personal revelation. So let's get into it. For 10 years, the only prayer I could manage was, Lord, have mercy. Today, I'm talking about worship in the wilderness, when you can't sing, can't praise, and can barely breathe through the pain. I prayed for an easy way into sharing this personal revelation, but at 1 a.m., up front and straightforward is what I got. Sometimes it's hard to do what's best to modify or resolve a situation or circumstance when there's emotional hurt, mental stress, or physical pain. Emotional hurt can sometimes cause us to shut down or do things that prolong our suffering. One example is not talking about how we feel with the right person or a professional if needed, instead of holding it all in. Another example could be using something like food, emotional eating, to numb the feelings, and as a result, negatively impact our health. Mental stress can sometimes be overwhelming, and again, depending on the choices we make, certain things can negatively affect other areas of our lives, as we're anxious for immediate relief, rather than doing things that are unfamiliar or uncomfortable and will require more time and effort. Physical pain, especially chronic and acute pain, which is what I experienced for 10 years and 4 days short of 7 months, can profoundly impact your mental and emotional health as well. It took away my ability to focus, and even going to doctor's appointments elevated my pain far beyond the pain scale of 1 to 10. I worked since the age of 12 and had been at my current job for 30 years and was less than 3 months away from my 31st anniversary date. On Monday, November 26, 2012, I attempted to get up for work after the Thanksgiving break. I woke up unable to move, in excruciating pain. My back was locked. Dealing with this type of illness is more than a two-edged sword. It's more like a candle burning at both ends and in the middle. And in my case, it took more than 10 years for that candle to burn out, leaving behind the waste of all that melted away and the damage of those things it affected. Whether you're in severe pain or immobile, you still have to manage going to countless doctor's appointments, taking countless tests, trying innumerable medications with side effects that only add to the pain emotionally and mentally. And as for relief, the only thing the medication did was make me sleep 12, 24, and up to 48 hours. And one of my doctors responded by saying, "Well, that's all they really meant to do." That was a devastatingly hard pill of medical knowledge to swallow. My disability happened suddenly and instantly. My whole life changed on the morning of November 26, 2012. I had no warning, no time to prepare, and no idea that my life as I had known it was over. And absolutely no idea it would be 10 years of wilderness, 10 years of the unknown, and especially not knowing what my future might be. I can very honestly say that experience of long-term, debilitating pain caused emotional hurt along with mental stress. And I couldn't focus or imagine how to deal with it or manage what I was in the midst of that had me bound in more ways than just a bed. Not only did I not sing praise and worship songs, I didn't listen to them, not intentionally. And as it would happen, one particular song came out and seemed to be on constant play. And it broke me down every time I heard it. It was Tamala Mann, Take Me to the King. Those words pierced my heart and soul. They spoke to my very situation of despair and desperation. I couldn't bear to hear it and still feel sensitive to hearing it even today. I don't have the words to fully express or explain what those 10 years were like. The numerous ways they impacted and changed my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, socially, and spiritually, as well as my ability to be the mother I had been to my 14-year-old son. The most I could say is when I wasn't completely faith fatigued, tired of believing the constant ongoing pain that took and was taking so much from me would come to a hopeful or miraculous end, all I could pray was, Lord, have mercy. So in the midst of it, day after day, 7 days turning into week after week, 4 to 5 weeks turning into month after month, 12 months turning into year after year, and that unbelievable date, which marked 10 years, I could never get back. Oftentimes, all I could pray was, Lord, have mercy. There were times I wasn't sure about my faith, about God, what I believed, why I believed, or what was the purpose. So worshiping God for who He is, a redeemer, a healer, a source of strength, comfort, peace, and joy, none of which I was experiencing, or praising Him for what He had done while in the midst of an overwhelming, life-changing burden that He didn't seem to be helping me get through. Neither of these biblical disciplines were on my mind or in my heart. Yet the Bible says in Hebrews 13:15, through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of our lips that openly profess His name. There's no exception made for our circumstance. In fact, it is a sacrifice, giving up something for a greater purpose. In the case of worshiping in bad times, it's giving up bondage for the freedom and power that comes from God's manifest presence entering into your present situation or circumstance. In our humanity, if there's something someone needs or wants to ask us, there's an expectation or manner of how they should approach us that determines how we respond or if we respond at all. And the same is true with God. He set the ways, means, methods, and practices in place that He requires for us to approach Him, to be heard by Him, to move Him, and to cause His manifest presence to dwell with us. Nevertheless, His time is not our time, and His reasons are at a level of are not at a level of our understanding, unless He chooses to reveal them to us. In Acts 16:25-26, we read that while in jail, locked in shackles, At midnight, the darkest hour of a bad situation, Paul and Silas were praying and singing praises to God, and the other prisoners listened. And God showed up. He unlocked the doors and unfastened not just their shackles, but even the other prisoners who were listening to them pray and sing praises to God. The sacrifice of their lips and praise brought God's presence and power into their situation and freed them. But one thing is sure, even if it takes 10 years, if you don't ask, you won't receive. If you don't seek, you won't find. And if you don't knock, the door won't open. And one of the most profound and saddening scriptures to me is Hosea 4:6. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Because the fact is, we don't always know what we don't know. And we may not realize what we need to know. Another thing is certain. Allowing any part of our humanity to overrule the things we know to do can also cause things to perish. Things like experiences, opportunities, relationships, and most important, time and freedom. So how do we get to the place of worshiping God, which ushers in His manifest presence and brings about a change in us and our situation? By drawing on faith, even the size of a mustard seed. By taking Him at His word and giving Him the sacrifice of our lips. By doing what He instructs us to do and allowing Him to be who He said He is. Our Redeemer, our Protector, our Provider, our Healer, just to name a few. Worship in challenging and bad times invites God's presence and power and opens doors for His intervention and strengthens us spiritually. Knowing and understanding this now, I'm choosing to focus on implementing praise and worship as a daily practice in my life. So no matter what I'm going through, in good times or bad, He said He's with us. He will never leave or forsake us. He said call on Him. He says to ask, to seek, and to knock. I can't speak to anyone's situation or circumstance, what anyone else is able or willing to do. I can say we should be very careful trying to speak into someone else's life without the ability to fully understand or having experienced the exact valley they're walking through. So in good times or bad, I now choose to worship even through my tears, if it means reaping later in joy. I now choose, even in the midst of my pain, to recognize and focus on what He's done and hold on to it like a lifeline it is, to keep me from drowning in sorrow or sinking into the depths of despair. The one thing God gave me that sustained me through those 10 plus years is hope. And faith is the substance of what we hope for. So through my faith, though it might have been fatigued and sour at times, in essence, it was never lost. Our relationship of communication with God is so vital in our everyday life. Calling His name isn't just for times of trouble, but also times of ease. Being thankful when life isn't lifing and His grace is abounding. And in those challenging times, even when Lord have mercy is all you can pray, He hears you. And it is worship. It's a sincere posture of your heart, recognizing Him for who He is, worthy of worship as Lord, and merciful in grace, peace, and strength. So in good times, and especially in bad, lift your voice and sacrifice. recognizing God for who He is, praising Him for what He's done, and asking for whatever you need. He knows your heart, even if all you can pray is, Lord, have mercy. My testimony isn't over. It's just begun. And as God leads me through it, I'll be obedient to share it with you. Again, this is the third and final video in this series about singing and worship. I hope you find a blessing in some part of these personal revelations. I'd love to hear your thoughts or experience with anything I've shared. Leave a comment below and let's talk about it. I've also added the sermon God used to speak to this personal revelation He gave to me by our visiting minister, Tauren, entitled, Don't Hang Up Your Harp. 5 songs that meet my understanding, are felt in my heart, bring peace to my challenges, and one that lifts my spirits, and I can't help but dance for joy. Through these songs, I have experienced God's presence, strength, and joy. Also, a new feature I'll be adding to every video called Encouragement to Move. It includes, in reflection, a question for your consideration, one small step, a subtle suggestion to help you progress forward, and journal prompt, a question for written prayer or conversation with God. Join me next week Saturday at 9 a.m. for the next video series about faith, who God is, who God says we are, and prayer, having conversations with God. And finally, an important note, my channel will be changed to My Life, His Word. Look for the new introduction as well. I'm J. Mary Louise. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.